Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of interviewing the co-author for the Future Performance Ready Playbook. My co-author for today is Sanjoy Ghosh. Welcome, Sanjoy. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. Doing absolutely great.
Can you give our audience a quick introduction?
Sure, Will. I've spent more than 2 decades of intersection of business and tech, largely working in the enterprise transformation and financial services. And throughout that journey, one thing has become very clear to me: the value of technology is not really in how sophisticated the technology is. The value is in what it allows people to do differently. So with AI, I think that has become even more important because for the first time, very powerful capabilities are becoming available to almost everybody, not with technologists. At the same time, I started seeing another side of the transformation. Very successful, very capable professionals were quietly asking themselves, where do I fit in all of this? So my section really come from trying to reconcile those two worlds: the world of enterprise technology that I have lived in for most of my career, and much more human question of how people remain confident, relevant, and intentional as technology become more capable. And this is almost, something that I have done very passionately, and I'm seeing this transformation around. Well,
Wow, thank you for a very good introduction. I want to introduce the concept of section to our audience. A section is a group of chapters that allows our author to deep dive into the topic, to give you more layers of the information of what they're trying to share. This way, when you read the section, you can walk away with something tangible. And there are takeaways that they include in each of the chapter, and therefore a section is a more powerful and meaningful representation of the work that my co-author is doing. Sanjoy, let me ask you this question. What inspired you to write your section?
so well, for me, AI literacy has been much broader than knowing how to use a particular tool. You do not need to be an AI engineer. You do not need to understand every model and every technical details of the world. But as a leader, you increasingly need enough understanding and conviction to what AI can do, where it can help, how to ask the right question, how to challenge what comes back, and ultimately where human judgment still has to remain accountable. And that's why I call this as a leadership superpower, because I believe the competitive advantage is going to come less from simply having access to AI. Everybody will increasingly have access, and more from the quality of the human being using it. Their curiosity, their judgment, intentionality, and ability to connect technology to a real problem would matter most. And this is consistent with the book's broader positioning, that is that people also do not need to code to lead the AI era, but they do need AI literacy and sound judgment. And I've sort of developed my chapters through the concepts of agency, culture, and inquiry. Well,
if there's a three takeaway from your section, what those three takeaway be?
so the takeaways would be moving from anxiety to agency, right? So what this is. So many of us built our professional value around things like knowing more, synthesizing information faster, producing something faster, or being the person with the answer. And suddenly we have see the machines, that can perform parts of those activities at an extraordinary speed. So I saw this clearly in the in the business as well. So the pace of the question that people are asking are changing. The pace of the response are changing. So the old comfort is like we'll come back to you in a few days. It's no longer valid. And underneath, some very capable people are asking like if the rules are changing, where does my rule lies now? So one of the takeaway that I strongly call in one of my chapter is move towards agency from anxiety. And then I also talk about culture. I also put a great emphasis on the organization culture, because individual transformation is not enough. You can have 10 people experimenting with AI individually, but that doesn't mean that you have an AI-ready organization. And I've seen organization with having same ingredients, access to the technology, budget, leadership, sponsorship, where AI was part of one organization, AI was part of everyday work, and people were open, shared their ideas, collaborate. And the other organization where people were hesitant, people were sort of talking and collaborating privately, and always talk about risk and what could go wrong. So it is always the culture, and that's why I describe culture as the final frontier of AI transformation. And then the third thing that I emphasize is the fourth stage of AI journey, right? And how does that progression would look at? So so if you sort of think of the four stages, I call it awareness, assistance, augmentation, and autonomy. So initially there would be awareness, where people are simply trying to understand what AI is and what it means for them. Then you move into assistance, where people use AI to help with the defined task. Then with augmentation, something more interesting happens. The human starts becoming better at framing the problem and working with AI as a thinking partner. And the quality of inquiry really goes up. And ultimately, you get to the autonomy, which I describe through the idea of a sovereign team. So I don't think every team needs to become a team of AI expert. What matters is the quality of human intent, and the judgment becomes very high. So these are the three key things that I emphasize the authors to take away from the book.
Thank you for highlighting the culture, right? The culture. Thank you also for highlighting the intent and the judgment. Because it's always human plus AI. As we close this particular recording, what's something you could share with our audience for our upcoming event?
So we are launching the book officially on 8th of August. There will be two sessions, two launch event. One is morning 10 a.m. Eastern, and the other one is 12 a.m. 12 p.m. Eastern. Those are going to be super impressive. It will give you the real engagement. We will have the entire cohort, all the smart minds, all the authors of the book, sharing their experience, sharing the why, what inspired them to write these books and go through this journey. We'll also talk about the values from the real life experience and enterprise that we have seen across the board, and those values are going to stick to into generations, and those values caters to the different personas, starting from a teacher to a grocery store owner, to someone who's creating a course, to everyone, to common man. So I'm pretty excited to meet all the audience, to know the areas where you think the AI is going to be helpful, not only to shape your life, but also to shape your children's life and children's life. And what are those action items that you are taking? So we have two launch events. We also have in-person events. One, coming in October 17 in New Jersey, where we are going to have an in-person launch of these books, and some of my co-authors, our co-authors, will be present to officially share their language, share their why, and share their deep reasoning and experience. So I look forward to seeing you, everyone over there. And I can tell you, this one book has, the material to not only shape or change the thought process that you have, that one thing that you are currently doing with AI, but it also is very powerful messaging. How do we sort of lead that as in a volatile industry where AI is changing every day, and we got to raise our kids, we got to raise our family, and how do we ensure we sort of give them a very safe workplace and an environment to thrive through, with AI as the companion. So I'm really excited and looking forward to meet all of you.
Thank you, Sanjoy, for your time. Really good having you today.
Thank you so much, Will, for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.